segment of the program where I want to look at the burning issue right now. The number one issue in Nigeria, no doubt, is the issue of security. And nobody is too safe, so to say. We know that there have been kidnapping here and there, herdsmen against farmers here and there, banditry here and there, negotiations still ongoing as per the release of boys, students that were kidnapped in Niger State, and a whole lot like that. So we are looking at this topic, security, optimizing the potentials of our unity in diversity. And we have two guests in-house to look at this topic with us this morning. My immediate left, I have OLUSOLA, AIG OLUSOLA SUBAIR, who is an essay to the Ogun State Governor on Security. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you, and good morning.
We also have Malam SANI, who is also an essay to the State Governor here in Ogun State on inter-ethnic relations.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, viewers.
And I want to welcome you once again. AIG SUBAIR, I will start with you. We are talking about maximizing potentials of security in Nigeria to make it as a tool for unity. Let's start from the basis now. Do you think there has been problem from the foundation problem that I think has brought us to this state, to this brought us to this level we have of security?
Foundation problem, I don't know what to do.
Causes.
What?
Foundational causes of security challenges.
Foundational causes.
Yes.
Well, talking about this topic can bring to the table for the progress of this country, to make this country a very strong and viable nation.
In the area of security,
Yeah.
there are in the area of security, what has been the challenges that has led us to this present stage? That's what I'm asking.
In the area of security, coming back from my, my experience from where I was before I came into government, I think funding has been a big challenge. Funding has been a big challenge. I want to say that I am an executive member of Interpol, still an executive member of Interpol. I'm a delegate representing Africa. And that has given me opportunity of traveling far and wide. I've been to many nations, to police seminars, to police trainings, and what have you. And I've seen the amount being committed into security by all these nations. You go there and you begin to wonder, do these people get this money from a different source, or how are they managing? They make everything available. Science, technology is not left only the case. Security is not so much fun. You expect a policeman to go out to go and work with every tool that is required. But here, it's like you are putting a police officer, at risk by sending him for an assignment because he's not well protected. And somebody that is not well protected cannot protect others. So you discover that in other crimes, police have the technology to detect crime. They have the artificial intelligence to supply, to give to them the information that is required for them before they can go into the terrain to do their work. But all these things are lacking here. So I'm of the opinion, I think that funding is a requirement for a very vibrant security apparatus in our nation.
Okay, Malam Sani, he is talking about funding. Do you think funding is the only challenge we have in ensuring that our security in Nigeria is at the top notch?
Well, thank you. I want to start by, on behalf of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Ogun State, President Dr. Babiodun, to condole with all the victims of these unforeseen contingencies of farmers' hardest crisis we had in a couple of weeks. And we will to reassure them of the zeal and commitment of His Excellency toward resolving this issue, which we are on top of the situation, which we can assure, and even the entire state can assure that it has went down drastically. And the issue of the security we are facing, definitely it is a fundamental issue. Funding is key, as AIG has rightly said, but there are a lot of fundamental issues surrounding that as well. The cultural diversity, the cultural diversity is as well a fundamental issue. As it has its advantage, it as well has its disadvantage surrounding it. In a country like Nigeria, that we had over 250 ethnic groups, that is a typical multicultural nation, within which we have to work hard to work on our national integration. And it is not of totally a disadvantage to us. Looking into the economic case study, let me narrow it to Ogun State as a case study, what brings about all this issue, because it's beyond funding at least. We had an issue of farmers and herders crisis every day. Fundamentally, farmers and herders, historically, we always have problems. So far, we are not practicing a modern ranching system. Cattle will move around. In the process, there will be an encroachment. That is why we are advocating, and I'm quite optimistic. At the last executive meeting they had with the presidency, most of the governors are advocating for this modern ranching, because basically, traditional pastoralist pattern is not sustainable any longer by the virtue of increase in population. As we increase in population, there are major parameters that increase along. It increases our level of farming, our housing system will increase, consumption pattern and all other parameters will increase. That has been one of the major issues, natural phenomenon issue that has caused this issue. Because most of the free forestry, the pastoralists explore are no longer there. Maybe let me give you statistics. Around 1960, our population is not more than 50 million. Now, we have close to 200 to 270 million in Nigeria. So you have to now calculate what 50 million are consuming in terms of our land mass, within which we use our constitution, we use as a base of constitution to map out grazing land. It's no more there. We have increased with over 150%. And statistically, in the next, maybe within from now to 2050, we will double our population. Meaning the problem will keep expanding. That's a natural phenomenon. Either you put in mechanism or not, either you put in security or not, whatsoever you put, the landmark will keep congesting. As a matter of fact, my PhD thesis was I'm compiling my data on my PhD thesis on indigenous settler relationship and how it affects the economy. I fundamentally do my due diligence research to understand how issues affect this nation. And considering this issue of a kind of a natural population increase, one of the major issues that causes it as well, it can be disassociated from the crisis from some of these African countries. If you observe, we have a lot of crises from Libya to Chad to Sudan. And unfortunately, Nigeria, we have a very porous border. These countries, peradventure, they eventually got to have a kind of excess ammunition around them, within which they find their way down to Nigeria. You will ask question that why are they not domiciled in Chad and Sudan and Niger Republic? It is not far-fetched. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. We are more buoyant economically. Our GDP is high, and there's a kind of more money in circulation. Nigeria is more comfortable for these criminals to come down and perpetrate evil criminology and make funding out of it, because we have a buoyant economy. So our porous border has made it very easy for them to come into through the land borders and increase the evil. It is very obvious it is a national criminality which is not associated with a certain region of the country. North is the highest victim of this crime because we are the first contact. They have to move in through our border post before they move down to the southwest. When you take a custody of Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, it is of the highest peak. They will wipe out a village, kidnap in high multitude. It's ongoing. So that is why we as government representatives and leaders, we have to do a lot in sensitization to avoid ethnic profiling on this matter. It is far, far, far beyond that. It is far beyond that. If it happened to be an ethnic profiling issue, it will be strictly maybe coming to attack South, not major, major victims of this criminality. I want to endure, I want to call on attention of our people to treat these people as criminal and avoid the profiling as it will only compound our problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I like that, SANI. Let me come back to AIG OLUSOLA SUBAIR. Yes, in those days, because this is not the first time we're talking about optimizing the potentials of our unity in diversity to combat insecurity. And that's why, for example, in the police force, you could have a northerner coming to Ogun State as a police commissioner. You could have people like you go to the north, go to the east, and of course you could be transferred here and there. There's a certain training that we're always told that it doesn't matter where a policeman is posted, he will find his level and begin to know more about those communities and of course enshrine proper security. And it's been working for quite some time, but can it still work now, looking at the challenges that we have, especially now that even police are also canvassing for community policing?
Well, to an extent, it has worked. But this problem of having police officers from a particular locality working in their locality is not a thing that is just being advocated for. I remembered in 1989, I was then posted to Sokoto. Gusau, the capital of Zamfara, was then under Sokoto, so I worked in Gusau then. And Babangida directed that all police officers should be returned to their local government. So I was brought back to the West. It has its advantages and its disadvantages. One is the fact, one of the disadvantages is the fact that once your people know that yes, our man is there is tendency for them to do some things with impunity with the belief that their man that is there will assist them. It may even be difficult for you to do your work effectively because they'll be calling you here and there for favor, for assistance, for this and for that. But to a large extent, I think the fact that you know your terrain more than somebody who is a stranger is a strength. You are able to know your people, you know the type of crime they can commit, you know the type of criminality that is prevalent in that area. That can help you to plan and then to combat this crime. So I see, and that is why we are going the way of community policing now. You know, community policing is a concept in which the police is owned by the people. It's just like democracy, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Community policing also is police of the people, by the people, and for the people. You make the general public play a very important role in policing. They believe that police is their own. They believe that they should determine the way their police force should go. For instance, I mentioned funding the other time. If I know and I'm aware that this police is my own, and this is what this police will need for it to perform effectively, I'll be ready to fund that police to an extent that that police will be able to perform. So if you make that police a community police belonging to that locality, the locality also, the community will be able to provide everything that is required for the police to work effectively. Not only in terms of tools, in terms of materials, but even in terms of information and intelligence that will be required to combat crime. So I think when we consider the advantages and the disadvantages, we'll see that the advantages of having a community policing far outweighs that of not having a community policing system. So in my own opinion, I will advocate that we should intensify our efforts in having a community policing system.
Okay, quickly before you go, there have been debates here and there about state police in this very difficult period that we have as far as insecurity is concerned. What's your view on this, with your experience as a retired senior policeman?
You see, from my experience, what I've seen is that our police force is a very large one. Over 350,000 personnel. Although compared to other countries, we are still far below the required figure. But even at that, when you consider that we have a central head for this type of police, it's a challenge to us in Nigeria. The challenge in the sense that we are talking of diversity now. When we talk of diversity, we are talking of differences. We are talking of dissimilarities. And we have, you know, our country is so diverse. When you talk of, you can talk of generational diversity, talk of abilities, talk of tribes, ethnicity, and what have you. Very, very diverse. If you deploy a police commissioner to a state, the police commissioner will have to study very well the way of life of the people before he'll be able to perform optimally. Now, somebody who is sitting in Abuja may not know what the commissioner of police in a particular state is facing. And if reports are sent back to the headquarters, they may still look at that police commissioner as somebody that is not effective, but not knowing what the person is facing. But if you have a segmented police force, not a centralized one as we have it, because the way as it is now, most of the funding of the police is done by state governors. For all security apparatus that we have, you know, they still come to the state governor to ask for one thing or the other. And the government also, not wanting a situation where there will be anarchy, we want to do whatever is necessary to ensure that police in that state is well equipped. So if we are having it that way, I do not see anything bad in having our own state police. You know, we can, and if you consider other countries also, you will discover that most of the countries of the world have decentralized police forces. You know, in some countries you have about 100 police forces of, you know, different levels, different calibers. You have, in some, you have local government having their police, state government having their police, provinces having their police, and then they have the national. You know, if what we have been trying, if what we have been practicing up till now is not working for us, we can try other means, you know, of trying to police this country.
Okay, Malam Sani, obviously different places with their different challenges as far as security is concerned. In the north, as you have said, it's about banditry. Yes. It's not about maybe Yoruba people or Igbo people trying to do havoc in the northern region. But here, it's different. The herdsmen, even though there have been claims that they might not be Nigerians, and you've also said in your first reaction that, and I agree with you that this is not the first time that we've been living together in various parts of the states. The herdsmen do their job, the farmers do their job, even though there are occasional clashes which are quickly resolved. But now, it's like a recurring decimal, and that puts a challenge to your office, for example, because looks like there is no love lost, so to say, between one ethnic group and another ethnic group. And that is why it becomes very, very important for inter-ethnic relations or relationship to be tightened. So how challenging has this been, and what has been the constant advice, for example, that you have been offering and working together with government to see that it did not deteriorate? It could deteriorate, and you know, especially Ogun State is also having such an experience right now.
All right, thank you. We are quite optimistic. Things are a little bit bad, but not as bad as incapacitating us not to resolve it. Issues that are more extremely bad has been resolved. Historically, even the deadliest war, Second World War of 1936 to 1949, that claims over 15 million casualties, was being resolved. Even the fact that all the lands are not comfortable for the resolution, they have to sign a treaty on the moving train, is being resolved. Not talk of this issue, it will be resolved, which we are on it. His Excellency, Dr. Akpabiodu, has inaugurated a committee, peacekeeping committee, and we have commenced a diligent work to make sure we reconcile issue amicably. Prior to this committee, we already have an existing farmers and herders conflict resolution committee, which we have been managing the situation for over 2 years now. That is why you've never seen any escalation. But one or two issues makes it a little bit escalated and kind of become complicated this time around. And with committee on ground, we've commenced activities. The core cardinal point of this committee is, one, to investigate the root cause of the problem. Two, to provide a recommendation within which such unforeseen contingencies will not happen again. Then we have issue of compensation and palliative for immediate need of people that are displaced across the state, in which we've commenced work on that. Those are the disadvantage of, we know these issues has, as it has the disadvantage, it also has an economic base. And I had a discussion we had with the 5 governors. The chairman of Meti Allah confirmed this. He reiterated us also that now Ogun State happened to accommodate the highest number of cattle in the southwest, if not even in Nigeria, because they know it's fertile. So we as government, we are quite aware of that economic case study, that this is an economy, this is a boom for us. So that's why it is not an issue of discarding the sector totally, that it's creating havoc. No, we're going to sit down, analyze it, eject the criminality, modernize the economic base, and use that to boom our economy. Absolutely, we see comparative and absolute advantage upon this. And I think we are resolving it amicably, and we are getting results.
AIG Zubal, let's look at security management. And you have been on the field for the processes, stage by stage. Does he have a stage? Let me start from there. Does security management has a stage? Does he have stage?
I don't actually know what you mean by stage. But when we talk of security management, it has to do with formulating policies that will help to prevent anarchy. Policies that will emplace peace, progress and prosperity of the people. Now, talking about security management, you are talking of getting the right people to be in position of authority. One thing we need to know is that security has to do with everybody. Each individual has a role to play in security. And when you are talking of security management, it means being able to harness the strength of every sector, the strength of every that we desire.
Before you go too far, I'm asking this question. I want you to break it down, because we know that aside police, we have the customs.
Yes.
We have the immigration
yes.
that will mount our borders.
Yes.
And with all those other security agencies, we still have this problem.
Yeah.
So what is the process of managing security and managing it well? Since we have other stakeholders, it is not only the job for the police. Since we have other management, other agencies that are put in strategic places, what is their job? If they have a particular job they should do in terms of security, what really is their job?
Now, thank you for that question, for that elucidation also. As you have mentioned, there are different roles for different security agencies. Immigration, for instance, has to manage the migration of people from one country to the other. Customs manage the movement of goods from one country to the other. Police, for instance, the responsibility of ensuring internal security. Now, this used to be the work of police, you know, before the creation of immigration and customs. But each security outfit has to play its own role properly before we can achieve any tangible success. For instance, you are talking of proliferation of light arms. You be wondering, how are these militants able to get what they are having? So it means the custom has a role to play in that. But when you consider again the vastness of our border, of our land, the ungoverned spaces that we have, when you consider all this and compared to the strength of our customs, you will discover that customs also will need technology and science to manage our borders. Look at America, for instance. In order to prevent people from other countries coming to their countries, they decided to build a wall to secure their border. The same thing happened in Israel. You know, these are means by which we can enhance the way our security operatives are working. It's not just to, before you know it, we are overwhelmed with the challenges of having to combat all these crimes. And that is why sometimes
my office now is the hatred these criminals has built in between ethnic lines. The hatred is enormous. That's why we are doing a lot in terms of engagement.